Hey guys, good morning. I am sorry for the delay. I had some trouble with my iPad. It looks like Facebook changed the process for getting on a little bit, so I'm a few minutes late jumping on today. So I apologize for that, but I got some really great stuff for you guys. And again, as always, I'm really excited, honored to be here with you guys and be on. I got Liberty with me in the back, scouts floating around here. Thought I'd jump in with you guys from my backyard. Since this is a nice peaceful place for me to work and spend time when I'm out of the office. So it was good to be able to come here and get some peaceful away time where I could connect and do the live stream. This is the first one for my computer too, so this is a little bit of a different process. So anyway, a few things that I got for you guys today. It's been a really exciting week in the sports nutrition health space. Some really good, outstanding news stories that have been out this week that make a big difference, I think, in all of our lives. One of them, there was a research study that came out about replacing carbs with fats dramatically increases metabolism, on average 250 calories per day, just by increasing fat content and decreasing carbs by the same amount so that you're calorically neutral. And that's actually a pretty dramatic study. It's the first time they've showed that on a broad population. That equates to over 20 pounds over 3 years. And this was over a 5-month period. The caloric burn was 250 calories higher. And even more importantly, for people that are more insulin sensitive, that produce more insulin, the drop or the increase in caloric burn was 400 calories. So it was actually even more. So the net takeaway here is that the old model of calories in, calories out, determining what we weigh and what our metabolism in has I think been roundly put to rest, and that really the quality of our calories are what matter, and specifically more good fats, more lean proteins, and less carbohydrates, particularly refined carbohydrates, are absolutely critical. This also explains the yo-yo effect on dieting, where people cut way back and then they jump back in on a carb-focused diet. They end up dropping their base metabolic rate, so then they're burning a lot less calories, which is why the weight comes back so much quickly, or more quickly, and it's harder to keep that weight off. So one of the things they also found on this study was that it suppresses ghrelin when you increase your fat intake and drop your carbohydrate intake. And what this means, ghrelin is what makes us hungry, and it's what reduces our energy expenditure. So by reducing ghrelin, we're able to feel more satiated, get less hungry, and boost more energy. And that may even be the key to the results on this study. A couple other things. I got 3 for you today that I want to share with you just before we kick off, because it's been a big week for news in the health space. Another one is that they found through a really fascinating study of a couple of indigenous populations in Venezuela that diet rather than age increases blood pressure. And this may sound kind of intuitive to some of you, but it really hasn't been in the medical community. People have just sort of assumed that blood pressure goes up in a straight line as you get older, and that's just the way it is. And you can modify that with diet a little bit, but you're really kind of stuck with an increasing blood pressure. Well, what they found is they took 2 indigenous tribes that were very close to each other and were completely isolated in Venezuela, which allowed them to do really a perfect control group study. And they found that at the various population, at the ages, one tribe at their 60s, 70s, their blood pressure was the same as it was when they were younger, and it didn't go up at all. And with the other population, it went up significantly, and they found that the reason for that was differences in the diet, which were pretty easy to ascertain, namely that they had more processed carbohydrate intake and more salt. So the take on it was, if we can reduce salt intake by 50%, we could eliminate 15 million cases of hypertension this year in America, which would be pretty amazing. And for us, if we want to reduce our blood pressure, if we have issues with blood pressure or hypertension, the critical elements for us, reducing salt intake and exercising, and also reducing sugar and processed carbs. But processed carbs also are packaged with typically a whole ton of salt, because you need the salt and the sugar to make it taste good when you process out the fat. So that's a pretty critical study. So anyway, if you have hypertension issues, and something that I've always been mindful of, I take my blood pressure on a regular basis, and I'm typically 110/70, which is right where I want to be. But one of the things that I see in myself, at least, is when I'm under more stress, or when I've got certain things that are going on, or I'm not taking good care of myself, I can see that number spike up to 130 on the top. And I know that I need to dial it back, or I need to be a little bit more mindful about my program, get more sleep, make sure I'm exercising, possibly limit salt intake. And then I see that fall right back down to the 110/70 where it typically is, which is a great place to be. I've got a couple other things for you guys here. The third study that I wanted to share with you was another one that really hit me personally. And it was basically that regular exercise can keep the body 30 years younger biologically, even into old age. So what they did on this study is they started following people who jumped in on the running boom back in the 1970s. There was a book, it was called The Complete Book of Running, came out in 1977. And it really kicked off, along with aerobics and jogging was another book by Bowerman, kind of kicked off this running for fun sort of thing, which was totally unusual up to that point. It was something that people thought, you run to get away from people, or if you're trying to get someplace fast. You don't really do it for health or for fitness. And the 70s really kind of kicked that off, and they started following some of these populations who've been doing it now for 50 years. And what they found was striking, is they found that people in their 70s have a muscular composition that's almost indistinguishable from people in their 20s if they've been exercising consistently for decades. Also, their energy levels were dramatically higher. They had much better biomarkers, not surprisingly, and dramatically higher aerobic capacities, typically 40% higher than people who didn't exercise consistently at that age. So, I think the takeaway for us is to build a reserve of good health now to slow or evade the physical frailty that can come later. So again, something that we can be thinking about now rather than, waiting until we're older. Today's the day, right? Making sure that you exercise today, making sure that you take care of your body, it ends up paying dividends over decades well into the future. So I got a couple of questions that I wanted to get to now after I've gotten some of the key health nutrition research out of the way. And these are a little bit more business specific, but I'm gonna jump into these. One question was that this person uses fulfillment by Amazon for some of their sales. They were asking if we'd use FBA, if we ship from our warehouse, if we drop ship. So on the fulfillment side, I use FBA for Amazon fulfillment only. And I think that's the best way to go if you're selling on Amazon. I think people on Amazon expect products to be delivered next day or 2 day, and fulfillment by Amazon, Amazon Prime, with over 100 million Amazon Prime customers, it's really kind of critical. So for Amazon shipments, I ship that FBA. Everything else we ship from our warehouse to retailers, to consumers, and we do offer better pricing, and we offer the Sean promo code for the group with a discount, so it's cheaper to buy through our website than it is to buy on Amazon. We also have quantity discounts, which we don't offer on Amazon. So we do things that make it a little bit more advantageous to buy through our website rather than buying on Amazon. But I think the people that are on Amazon, a lot of them just want to buy on Amazon. And with over 50% on the latest Gartner research of all online transactions, that's all online transactions in the United States today are occurring on Amazon. That is a striking and incredible statistic. Makes Amazon really impossible to ignore, because that's where the customers are. There's Liberty back there. So we do sell through there. Drop shipping, which you alluded to, is something that people can do when they're first getting started. If they want to sell other people's product, get drop shipping going, but it's really limiting You're going to be limited to only products that drop ship, which I think is pretty restrictive. You're also going to be paying more. It's going to be difficult to get a good COGS number for you, cost of goods sold, if you're only doing drop shipping. So that's going to be kind of a tough thing. At some point, you may want to get started drop shipping, which gives you the flexibility of not having to set up a warehouse and get going. But at some point, you're going to have to go with a 3PL, a third-party warehouse, or set up your own warehouse and start shipping. It needs to happen relatively quickly. I think once you start to get some sales going. Another question was strategies for targeting our audience and generating sales in our nutrition products brands. And this is a great question, right? I mean, we're always trying to grow sales. We're trying to get going. We have a number of ways that we can reach out to customers. I mean, we feel we have the world's best products. We put a lot of love, energy, time, and focus on making those products over decades. And it's important for us to then get that message out to people. How do we do that, right? We've got Facebook ads. We've got AdWords. We've got Bing. We've got social media. We've got SEO. I think influencer marketing going forward is going to be a particularly important focus, I think, for all brands. I think Sean's done a tremendous job kind of carving out that space and focusing on it. I think influencers all over the place are where people are starting to turn to make these purchase decisions, because similar to how we might ask a friend or a family member, hey, what do you think? Or somebody in business that we respect, just like we're doing on these mentor live streams. If you've got a question, you're going to reach out to somebody who you think might have the answer. So if you go on to an influencer who you respect and that person says that this is what you should buy or this is the direction you should go, I think that's where an increasingly large number of people are going to go to get their information and to make their purchase decisions. So that's, I think, going to be an increasing focus. There's guys like Gerry that only focus on influencer marketing. There's a lot of folks that are really focused on that. So that's something that I think we're going to continue to do going forward, again, because we're proud of what we do. And I think reaching those influencers and expanding that network is a great way to reach lots of people. We had a couple of other, I think Amazon as well, as I mentioned, with over half of online transactions. That's a growing channel for us. It's something that they are starting to take a bigger piece of the overall advertising pie. Currently, Amazon's piece of overall online advertising is about 4%, but it's growing dramatically because they own the entire sales platform with over half of the online transactions. They've got a key piece of data that none of the other companies doing online advertising have, and that piece of data is what somebody actually purchased. So they know who looked at things and then who actually bought those things, which everybody else just knows what your click-through went to and where it is. They've got some rough tracking that people can set up, but it's not exact. Amazon knows exactly what they buy and who bought it. So they can continue to leverage that data. And I think you're going to see that 4% go to 14, 24, 34% over time, just as they've done with the retail space. If they're the biggest retail platform, they're going to ultimately, I think, be a very strong challenger on the online advertising platform. So they're continuing to move that ball forward as well. We had a couple of last minute questions that came through. Let me just jump on and grab those really quick too, so that I can make sure and address every question that came in. So one was about blood biomarkers and profiles, some of the big biomarkers that you'd recommend keeping track of as both a performance athlete and a weekend warrior outside of your standard lipid metabolic panels. That's a great question. There are a couple of blood panel numbers that I think are absolutely critical and I think are dramatically under represented in a lot of the popular literature. I think the foremost among those is your DHA level. So EPA and DHA are your essential fats, and they're present in fish oil. You can supplement with them. They're in raw nuts and seeds, a lot of other good fats, healthy fats. but the DHA level seems to be, as you look at research over time, almost completely cardioprotective when it gets over about 80, to where you just don't have cardiac events at all. It's one of the strongest predictors of overall health, and a litmus test of how people are doing things right. I can look at just that one number and feel like I get a holographic view into how healthy somebody is or what they're doing. So a lot of people focus on your total cholesterol, and total cholesterol has been shown not to correlate directly with bad things, whereas low DHA absolutely correlates with bad things. So there's a reason for this. And the reason that people focus on cholesterol and lowering cholesterol is because it's something that's easy to do with drugs. So you can, through pharmaceuticals, very rapidly lower your overall cholesterol levels and bring them down quickly. There's no way through drugs to raise your DHA level. You just have to earn it. And by earn it, you earn it through exercise, through, you hear these on just about everything, a reduced consumption of processed foods and sugars, and an increased consumption, which goes back to the first study that I mentioned earlier today, an increased consumption of fats, good fats and saturated fats. So I'm going to digress to explain something that a lot of you may already know, but the difference between saturated, unsaturated, and trans fats. So unsaturated fats versus saturated fats. So saturated fats raise your HDL and your LDL simultaneously. So your HDL and your LDL both go up, which means your HDL is your good cholesterol that is taking all of the stuff that's being deposited throughout your bloodstream and spiriting it away. The LDL is the bad cholesterol that's depositing bad stuff all the way through. So if you raise them both simultaneously, it's kind of a negating effect between the two. If you have trans fat, which is the evil, really bad fat, trans fat raises your bad cholesterol, your LDL, and lowers your HDL. So it's absolutely poisonous, and it's something we should never do. It drops your HDL down, raises your LDL up. The other thing, unsaturated fats. So unsaturated fats don't have the impact on your HDL or your LDL to the same degree. So when you want to raise your HDL, your good fat, you want to increase your exercise, reduce your processed food intake, and consume lots of good fats and possibly fish or take a fish oil supplement. So getting your HDL tested, again, mine's over 80. Getting your HDL tested is one of the great things to look at on your blood panel. It's something that people don't typically focus on. So look at your HDL. Your LDL is what people focus on because you can lower it with drugs, but your HDL, you can't lower it with drugs, but you have to raise it on your own. There's a number of other biomarkers. I think your blood panel is something we should all do regularly, because a blood panel is really a window into your overall health and fitness. You can't fake it. It's a complete snapshot of where you are at that point in time. And it's also an incredible early warning signal for things that are going wrong or that could potentially be an issue in the future. So it's definitely something that you want to do on a regular basis and stay on top of. I think we got a couple more. So some of these also are about general sales and marketing questions. So we're all trying to grow our brands. We're trying to grow our sales. We're trying to get more of a focus in the mind share of our various customers. And so there's some questions about sort of how to do that, where we do that. And I think starting with your most rabid users, there's a net promoter score that people talk about. There was a book on it that started out, the whole net promoter score said basically, if you could ask only one question of your customers, it would be, would you recommend us to a friend or family member? And your 9s and 10s, possibly 8, 9s, and 10s are promoters. 9s and 10s, really, they're promoters. They're people that are going to be out pitching about you and really promoting you everywhere, and really promoting your brand and your product and service. Your 7s and 8s are people that are more neutral to positive, and if they're 6s and belows, they're not promoters, and they're people that are not necessarily out there on your side. So we have, fortunately, 98% of the people that we've surveyed when we do our Net Promoter Score, who are our customers, would recommend our product to a friend or family member. I like to go to those people that are passionate about it, that are 9s and 10s on the Net Promoter Score, and ask them to refer, ask them to help us out. And I think that's a great place for all of us to start, right? Go to our most passionate customers, the people that are most excited about what we do and who we are, and get ideas from them, right? Work on that. Find out why they like the product so much. Maybe do some focus group studies, learn more about that, and then develop your marketing plan and some of your ideas around some of those more rabid customers. And then look at how you can bring that down and change some of your 6s and 7s into 8s and 9s, or your 4s and 5s up into 6s and 7s as well, and move them up the Net Promoter Score. So anyway, just a few things on that, a couple of ideas. Hope it's helpful. Let me look through the current questions. Lots of good feedback, good questions. Just want to tell you guys, I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys. This Scout right here, I'll bring into the mix. This is my my other pup, and I'm really grateful to be in the tribe and to have the opportunity again to share with you guys. Please share some questions on my next live stream, or reach out and let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you guys. I wish you guys the best, and go out today. Try to be 2% better than you were yesterday. Find a little bit of extra something that you can squeeze out of the day today, something that you can do better, something that you can take on. One thing on that list that's been sitting there for a couple of weeks and that you've just been putting off, and let's just take it on today. Just grab that one thing and just go do it. Block off an hour, 2 hours today. Turn off social media, turn off your email, and just do that one thing. Maybe it's writing a chapter in a book. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's cleaning out your garage. Maybe it's making a dozen cold calls that you've been knowing that you have to make that you just haven't made yet. Just take an hour or two out of your day and go do those things. And tonight you're just going to sleep that much more restfully, and you're going to be glad that you did. And it's those little changes that are going to continue to move our lives forward and make us better each and every day. So again, thank you for the opportunity of being with you guys today. I look forward to the next one, and keep being great. Cheers.